The song that was just presented is special in many ways. And one of them is because it was presented by Albert and Chris with a special affection for their employer. Amar, we welcome you here and your spouse. You're very welcome in our congregation. My son also worked in your firm, so I appreciate your kindness and professionalism. Today, I greet you all. We have many visitors today, probably more visitors than members in the church, and which is good in a way. We welcome you all, and we wish that the Lord may guide us in this study as this beautiful song introduced us into God, who is the Creator, who is our best friend. We would like today to reflect on Him. If you remember last time I spoke here, it was about 3 weeks ago, I was speaking on Genesis chapters 1 to 11. And I was telling that the chapters of 1 to 11 lay down the foundation of the whole human history and human future, telling us where we are coming from, who we are, how we should live. We have that there, God creating everything, what we see in 6 days, resting the 7th day, which we keep today, 7-day Sabbath, and as a memorial of creation, and then also creating animal world, creating the universe, creating humans, male and female, uniting them in marriage. And then God said, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. So this is how this great history starts. And then we reflected that in present age, humans are moving in the direction which is not exactly how God designed us to operate and to function. And we see many problems. Today, I'd like to talk about a topic which is a continuation. This is chapter 11 in Genesis. So we started with chapter 1, today I'm coming to chapter 11. For your information, chapter 12 in Genesis opens a completely new field. And I will mention to you what is there. God again resets the human family. So, see, the story of creation and story of human race, this prehistory, has several phases. First is the optimal stage, ideal stage. No sin, no evil, no death, everything in perfect order. Then comes the sin. Then comes the death. Then comes the disease, decay, conflict between people, selfishness, greed, and so on. And the evil increases to such an extent that God has to destroy the world by the flood, universal flood. Just few people survived, actually 8 of them. And then, with 3 sons of Noah, we reset the whole story. New beginning. And then we are coming to the story here in this message of today, when we have some people going against God in a wrong direction. And we will be talking about the Tower of Babel. But I will be talking about the Tower of Babel and connecting it with our present age. And you will see why the Tower of Babel, the story about the Tower of Babel, is very important and relevant for us living today. And I'll show you in a few moments why. We are living in an age of unprecedented technological advances that we see every way where we go. You can look at space exploration, not only NASA, now we're having the richest men in the world and are launching these spaceships, exploring different planets, looking for life in the universe, exoplanets, and so on. So we are living, and don't forget that development of digital technology and advanced computing has made it possible. And I'll show you how. Today we can be in a virtual reality, so-called augmented reality. You can put these special devices on your head and you can simply be in another world. It's amazing what's possible today. So, you see, new generation of people who are growing up, young people, if life would go on in a few decades, there will be things in this world that we have never seen. Virtual reality. We have robots, looking like animals. They can walk, they can jump. That's amazing. We are having human robots. So, humanoid robots. And we will see where is that going. Robots that can speak, communicate with us, answer questions, engage us in conversation. almost feel emotions. So this is the age in which we will today. This has never been before. When I was born, this did not exist, but exists today. Robots, computers, algorithms playing chess. Even the greatest chess player, Carlos Magnus, he cannot beat this machine. They're so powerful. These are the human faces. Do you know that these people have never existed, never been born? They're artificially created by computers. Don't they look realistic? Oh, I couldn't believe it. Now, just think about this. Where this can go. Where this can go. Let me show you. This is an artwork, digital artwork that won the first prize in Colorado, Blue Ribbon Fair, and some artists complained. Young artists presented and won the first prize. Artificial intelligence, creating artwork. These are some other artwork, you can see them here, just amazing. Also, algorithms creating this artwork. How about these images? This is not real, it's fake. Computer this generated image of Albert Einstein in company of some people. Barack Obama, not real photo. Gandhi. Other people, look so realistic. The richest man portrayed as poor. You can see them here. How about ChatGPT? Computer language. You can communicate, you can talk. It's unbelievable. I've seen people, you can input to write a poem about nature. And it writes a poem, a beautiful poem. Not only communicating regular prose text, but a poem. Artificial intelligence writing this. However, there are questions. Where are we moving? If this intelligence, and we will talk about that, artificial intelligence, I'm not an information technology specialist, but I have read a little bit and I have some basic information. What we deal here, that humans and digital technology are connecting. The question is where it will go, how far it will go. Can it pose a threat to human race? And I'll give you a few examples. There is a narrow artificial intelligence, and there is artificial general intelligence. Narrow intelligence simply provides answer to particular question, solving particular problem. For example, and it can be very useful. If you're going to a medical doctor and you need digital imaging and someone, radiologist, needs to read your image, the best medical doctors in the world can diagnose, look at the radiographs, at the x-rays, and simply provide input for database or computer database. You can have millions of such inputs. And now you're having artificial intelligence computer reading radiographs. And I can tell you with certainty, almost certainty, that he will read it better than any medical doctor. Because he has such a vast database. And in that way, it can be useful. But now let's think about other scenarios. If they collect data about your purchasing habits, where you're buying stuff, and if these data are sold to someone else, if these devices are recording what we are talking, images, and storing somewhere for some purposes, right? In China today, you heard about the social credit system score. How about if they, for example, if you don't take garbage out in the morning or in the evening, your score goes down. Or, for example, you have certain views that are not politically correct, you can be in trouble. There are so many surveillance cameras in China today. Some people say 400 million. So they not only facial recognition, they can recognize you from your back. Now you just think where this can go. What kind of total control and surveillance can be established in the world? And this is just narrow intelligence, artificial intelligence. But how about artificial general intelligence? When the machine can start coding itself, writing a code, where that would lead. Now we'll talk about later on about transhumanism. And so in March of this year, leading scientists in information technology and business and thought leaders wrote an open letter asking for a pause for the human race to simply stop, slow down, and think about where is this going? What might be the consequences of this direction? Even Elon Musk signed this letter. So, as I mentioned, we had a GPT, and so on. We are having these robots that can communicate with us. And that is a little bit scary. Where are we moving? We are thinking about, will some jobs be lost? What do you think? Yeah. Not only blue-collar jobs, white-collar jobs can be in danger. You know what I was thinking? Just think about that. That's a fantasy world, but not too far-fetched. Could you imagine a computer program writing a sermon and delivering? Well, I have never thought about this before, but I'm just thinking. There is no limit how far you can go. But certainly many jobs will be in the line. And many routine jobs, data entry, analyzing different data and so on. Computers will be there. And how far they will go, we do not know for sure. There are powerful computers that are constantly increasing their computing power. How about news, fake news? I just listened to an expert who said that in the past, for example, when we talk about money, counterfeiting money in every country is a serious offense, a crime, for which people can be imprisoned 10 years. Counterfeiting money. Now, very soon you will see people who are counterfeiting other people's images and voice will be prosecuted and penalized through the criminal system, criminal law system. So these will be a serious offense. Today in the media but this provides unbelievable opportunity for people to spread false news. You can see the image, you can see the voice, like a real person. How can you know? Is it true or false? And we know the fake news. This is now becoming a reality. So we are facing a question, will this digital intelligence or whoever is behind that really have control over this world? And I'd like to address this issue from the biblical point of view, technology, Bible, history, and prophecy. Can this ancient book, the Bible, tell us something about humans attempting in the past to go that way and how God intervened? And will humans in the future also try to do something like this? And what will happen? So let me share with you these questions. Does the Bible contain a record of humans using technology in the past? Does the Bible contain a prophecy about the increase of knowledge and new technologies? What does the Bible say about humans' use of advanced technology in the past and its potential use in the future? Let me share with you one Bible prophecy. Daniel chapter 12, verse 4. But you, Daniel, prophet Daniel, living in the 5th century BC, but you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. Until what time he should seal the book? The time of the end. Are we living in the time of the end? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So, has knowledge increased? As never before. Not only prophetic knowledge, but also the knowledge, general scientific knowledge. Let me share with you so-called knowledge velocity, the speed at which the knowledge doubles or increases. I took it from Buckminster Fuller, who spoke of the knowledge doubling curve in 1982. He suggested that in 1900, human knowledge doubled approximately every 100 years. Just 120 years ago, it took 100 years to double total human knowledge. By the end of 1945, the rate had come down to every 25 years. By 1982, every 13 months. 13 months. And Ray Kurzweil suggested, he was the head of the artificial intelligence at Google, suggested that with the arrival of the internet, it is now doubling every 12 hours. Complete total knowledge existing in the world. That's unbelievable. Let me give you an example. Scientific knowledge has grown exponentially over the last 200 years, doubling every 9 years, and 1.9 million articles were published in 2012, just 10 years ago. Even single topics can be daunting. There were about 66,500 articles on graphene since 2005. Assuming 2 hours to understand each article, it would take more than 40 years, working 8 hours a day, to read the current graphene literature. How about materials? People who are in metallurgy or working in industry. One particular issue. Can you keep up with that? One professor at the university was teaching the students and telling them this: we are teaching you something that you may not be working in 10 years on. So there is a need for continual education to keep up with this speed. But now, the Bible tells us also something else, and please keep this in mind as we go through this story. This is a contrast or balance to what is increase in knowledge. Is it really helping human race to increase in value, in moral worth? 2 Timothy 3:7, always learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. That's a very interesting point. Knowledge is increasing, scientific, technological knowledge, and so on, but not necessarily corresponding knowledge of the truth about human race, about purpose of life, how we should live. One gentleman, I really appreciate his thought, he said, we have educated ourselves to imbecility. And this is really strong wording, but it's very true. It's unbelievable what people today believe who are so educated. And this is the story about Babel, Tower of Babel. Let's see what happened there. This was after the flood. We don't know exactly when, but soon, relatively soon after the flood, the story. And this is a very fascinating story. Let me share with you the story. Genesis 11, verses 1 and 2. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelled there. I'll show you the map of the Middle East. And here you have, some points here. So, when the ark of Noah's Ark rested after the flood, it was at the Mount Ararat. You can see it here. Traditionally, this is somewhere in today's Turkey. And from there, people moved to these Mesopotamian, Fertile Crescent, River Euphrates and Tigris. And then they moved to the east and came to the land of Shinar. And what happened next? They said to one another, come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. They had bricks for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. So they wanted to build something, and they were making bricks, not using stones, because with the bricks they were able to put a taller structure. Had these bricks. Let's read on, verse 4. And they said, come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth. Now they want to build a city, and they want to build a tower, for which purpose? To make a name to ourselves, and that we should not be scattered throughout the whole world. Now you need to know a little bit here what was going on. I don't have now time to talk more about this story. Who was the first city builder? It was Nimrod, who was descendants of Noah, and he was the mighty man at that time, and he was building the Tower or City of Babel. So the purpose is here, we want to make a name to ourselves, and we want to be prevented from being scattered. And you will see that this was not God's plan for them. Now, I'll show you images. These are ziggurats. You can find them. This is in Iraq. You can find even today. So these were structures where people were ascending, and at the top they were offering offerings, making sacrifices, but also they were built next to the temples. And also the purpose of these ziggurats is they were inviting gods. The gods would come down to them. So they would be meeting with a god and offering sacrifice. Because in the Near Eastern mythologies, they believed that humans were providing something for gods, and gods in return were providing protection for humans. So there was an exchange. So this was the belief. So they wanted to build this, but they wanted to go all the way to heaven. We do not know everything, exactly, but I'll tell you one thing that you please keep in mind. Ancient civilizations that were destroyed had a very superior knowledge that we may not even have today in some areas. People who are not even Christians or Bible-believing, or atheists, don't believing in God at all, are saying convincingly they were ancient civilizations, very superior, with much knowledge. And they, for example, if you look today at pyramids, how they were built, how you can move 20 tons, even harder, 40 tons block of stone and put it up. Today, they were trying to, with modern technology, to replicate that, and it's hard today. What did they use? Going, so high up in the sky. So they had some technology that we don't even today know. And often this technology was destroyed because privileged class, people who were at the top, they had that knowledge, secret knowledge, and they did not pass it to necessarily always to others. But also the flood destroyed the generation, so we don't know everything about what they did. Now what happened in verse 5? But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. So you see, like in a ziggurat, God is now coming down to see what's going on earth. What's going on? People are trying to do something. God is coming to see what's going on. Verse 6, and the Lord said, indeed the people are one, and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. Nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. To me, this is quite an amazing statement. God is saying important thing. He's simply confirming they have one language, they can communicate with each other, and they have abilities to do something great. So brothers and sisters, don't underestimate the potentials of human brain, even in this fallen state and weakened through many generations in which we are right now. Human brain has a tremendous computing power. One of the leading authors, they call him grandfather of artificial intelligence, Geoffrey Hinton, who was a vice president for engineering in Google. He just resigned the post a few years ago. He said he was creating, because with artificial intelligence, there were two tracks how they were building artificial intelligence. And he said, I was following human brain, the architecture of human brain and neural nodes, how our brain works. He said, I'm amazed how human brain works. So, when God made us in his own image, he endued us with amazing capabilities. And even after so many thousands of years of abuse, we still have powerful intellect, especially some people. But God was saying, well, these people will do something. I have to intervene. I have to do something. And what happened? Verse 7, come, acquisition of language, human beings. And I remember him when he was debating Michel Foucault from France many years ago when he was younger, and they were talking, is the language something, kind of, people learn, like you train monkeys and they learn the language. He said, no, language is inherently, neurolinguistics proves that language is, you are born with the capacity, human, baby, to learn the language. It's amazing how we do it. So, God intervenes. So they are building the tower. Now, these people who are at the top, they are ordering certain material to bring up, but people cannot communicate now. So there is a confusion, and there is an anger, and there is a resentment, and then ultimately they disperse in different directions. So let's see what happened. Verse 8. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. So they could not build the city because they could not communicate. Now this is quite interesting. So they cannot communicate. By the way, when I talk about artificial intelligence, interestingly, that we talk about language here in Tower of Babel. What is the basis of artificial intelligence or all this information technology? Language. We call it computer language, right? Coding. In the beginning, Bible says, was what? The word. Communication. Intelligence. So he intervenes, and they cease building the city. Verse 9. Therefore, its name is called Babel, of that city, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. So this is the meaning of the word Babel. By the way, the Babel also can mean the gates or gate of God, but also can mean confusion, depending, how there is small variation. And we can see here that is the place where the confusion took place because of God's intervention, and the languages people could not communicate with, and they were scattered abroad. Now that's very interesting because God's original plan, when he created Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, he gave them command. Genesis 1:28, then God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over every living thing that moves on the earth. So God's plan is that we multiply, that we spread throughout the earth and fill the earth. But these people, builders of Babel, they were wanted to concentrate and create one central government and be in one place and build a tower. 2, because this was the sign of to establish their own name, their own pride. But then after flood, God again, when he renewed the covenant with Noah and his descendants, he said in Genesis, I establish my covenant with you that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of a flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. So God says to Noah, there will be never again a flood. That people who were building the Tower of Babel, reaching to the clouds, they wanted to avoid another flood. Although God said there will be no flood anymore. See? But God commanded Noah to scatter. And what else? And God said, this is the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you. For all future generations I set my rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be for the sign of the covenant between me and of the earth. I think that the rainbow, sign of the rainbow, has been hijacked. This is the sign of the covenant between God and his people. And you see how it was hijacked. Genesis 9:7. And for you, be fruitful and increase in number, multiply on the earth, and increase upon it. So again, God is repeating the same thing. You spread, multiply and spread all over the earth. And then, as I mentioned to you, in chapter 12, we are having another man. There is a rebellion with the Tower of Babel. People provoking God, rebelling, wanted to make their own name. And then in chapter 12, you are having one man whom God calls from this part of the world, from Ur of Chaldea. And what he tells him, now the Lord said to Abram, go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. And I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you, and what? Make your name, what? Great, so that you will be a blessing. God is calling a man. He's calling him, telling him what to do, and telling him, I will bless you, and I will make your name great. So not as Babylonians who are saying, we will make our name great. Now God says, I will make your name great, because he listened to God's voice. And then in Hebrews 11, 9, and 10, which city was Abraham building or expecting? By faith he dwelt, Abraham, in the land of promise, as in a foreign country, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise, for he waited for the city which has foundations, whose builder and maker is who? God. You're having Babylon, and then you're having the city that God builds. What is the name of that city? Jerusalem. Heavenly Jerusalem, not this one that is now in Palestine. That city will never again be the center of the world until Jesus comes and establishes new holy city there. I remember my mentor when I worked for a while, who was a Jew, whose father was in Israel, wars and so on, and he told me, Walter, listen, there will be never peace, zero chance of peace there. It would be without clear biblical insights. But God is preparing a city, holy city. And this city, New Jerusalem, is always opposed. Babylon is almost always in the Bible negative. Holy city, Jerusalem, is positive. We have another man who built a modern Babylon that we still have ruins here and there to see. His name is Nebuchadnezzar. 7th, 6th century BC. Let's read about him. At one point in time, the king who built it was a mighty empire. What did he say in Daniel 4:30? The king spoke, saying, is not this the great Babylon that I have built for a royal dwelling by my mighty power and for the honor of my majesty? He built the city. It was a majestic city, hanging gardens. And then one day he was walking on the roof of the city, and he looked at the city and he said, is this not the city that I have built? Pride, taking pride in what he accomplished. And we know what happened. He was confined 7 years to live like an animal. And then after 7 years, when this time passed, at the end of the time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to heaven, and my understanding returned to me, and I blessed the Most High and praised and honored him with who lives forever. Now, Nebuchadnezzar, when he was eating grass like an animal after 7 years, his sound mind came back to him, and then he praised God on heaven and said, look, even the highest king in the universe is nothing compared to God who rules in the universe. And look what he said about God. For his dominion, this is Daniel 4:34-35. For his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. All the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing. He does according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth. No one can restrain his hand or say to him, what have you done? No one. So Nebuchadnezzar acknowledged that God of heaven. But now I would like to come to the future, present and future. Does Babylon have any significance for us today? Is there any prophecy in the Bible about Babylon? Oh yeah. Look at this. This is a very interesting image. The Tower of Babel and the European Union headquarters in Brussels, made in the image of the Tower of Babel. Did you notice that? Wow. Many nations, different languages. I'm just mentioning this in passing. But I'd like to lead you to Revelation chapter 17. Bible speaks about Babylon as a woman holding in her cup in her hand a cup, which is filled with certain wine, intoxicating wine, riding on a beast. Woman, and we don't have time to go into that. Woman in the Bible prophecy represents a religious body. The beast in the Bible prophecy represents political power. So we are having religious and political entity in unity. And let's see what this woman does. Revelation 17:1. Then one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and talked with me, saying to me, "Come, I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters." Waters represent peoples, nations. So there is a religious body controlling nations, with whom the kings of the earth committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So the rulers of the world, political rulers, are in illegitimate relationship with the religious body. And that religious body makes people intoxicated with false teachings. On her forehead a name was written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth. So this is an apostate religious body. And what does this body does? I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus, and when I saw her, I marveled with great amazement. So John, in a vision, sees this woman. He's shown this is an apostate religious body. It's in illicit relationship with the political powers, state. It makes people drunk, and it's a persecuting power. We will not go into history, but we know, sadly, even in the Christian community, religious community, there was a lot of persecution. Unfortunately, sadly. Many people who reject Christianity, they said, look what you Christians have done in the past. My neighbor is from India, from Bombay area, very good friend. We go for a walk, and we talk about, British rule in India and many other countries, and it's a mixed feeling what Christians did there in many other parts of the world, not to mention slavery and wars and religious wars. So you see, not everyone who calls himself a Christian was doing the right thing, what Jesus was teaching, but they were engaging in wars and bloodshed, persecution of dissenters, people who had different views. And we are told that this spirit will remain and carry on until the end of the world. And there will be final conflict that is still out there. And we are told about another beast coming out of the earth with 2 horns. Again, I will not go into details here, but let me just tell you what this beast will do. He performs great signs so that he even makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And he deceives those who dwell on the earth by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast. So there is a beast. Beast, again, represents a political power. In the last days, coming out of the earth, does what? Speaks. Does signs. And by these signs deceives the people. Now let me ask you a question. What will be these signs? What do you think? Miracles. There will be phenomena that we cannot even imagine today. Both supernatural and probably natural, using technology. And this Bible verse talks about the Western Christian nations. Now, buckle up, be ready for what's coming. Technology today provides opportunities that could not have been dreamed of in the past. When we were reading some of these texts in the past and talking about this control, we were puzzled how this could be. I just recently read an article about some Mongols living in Mongolia. There is no electricity, living in the tents, I mean, wild, nothing. Sky, nothing. But everyone has a phone, cell phone. Now, I understand in India also, they are spreading this cellular network, giving phones to everyone. Free, almost. Somebody is pushing this technology, right? And you will see once you have a phone and you have digital currency. No paper money, no cash. You have your digital account, your currency, you're buying and selling through the phone. Have you heard about central bank digital currency? Here in Canada, Bank of Canada is exploring, asking the population, what do you think about digital currency? No, we are not introducing, but we are just thinking because at some point in future we may need to, go that way. Once there is digital currency, no more cash transactions. Because today when you're paying even your debit or credit card, this transaction goes to your local bank, and local bank only knows who you are, what you do, and so on, what you're buying, selling, whatever. And then once in a day, the central bank clears the transactions between different, businesses. With digital currency, central bank digital currency, you are directly communicating with the buyer or seller, central bank, and they know what you're doing, exactly, every transaction. Now they can say, look, you're receiving a pension or you're receiving some benefits, you can use them just for these 2 months. Or you can use them for these purposes. Or there is another pandemic, you cannot use it more than 1 kilometer from your residence. You go to a store 2-3 kilometers, you want to pay? No, it doesn't work. You're not vaccinated. You cannot travel, you can do nothing. You're completely under control of someone who has this control, central bank, digital currency. So just think about, this is around the corner. The fantasy world, this is not science fiction. World Economic Forum is talking about this. And what unprecedented opportunity to spread, news, to indoctrinate people with false doctrines. And Bible says in Revelation 13 and 14, he performs that power, great signs, so that even makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and he deceives those who dwell on the earth by signs. Okay. Verse 16, 17, he causes means using force, has power, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Can you connect dots now? Brothers and sisters, Bible is reliable. God knows the future. And he tells us what's coming, and that this technology will be plugged in the system of surveillance and control. You cannot buy or sell except you are approved. Have you heard or seen about this man, Yuval Harari, professor of history at University of Jerusalem? He is talking transhumanism. He wrote 2 famous books. One, his best-selling book, Sapiens, and sequel, Homo Deus. Homo means man, Deus means God. Man, God. He promotes transhumanism through genetic engineering, pharmaceutical drugs, bionic replacements, and cybernetic enhancement to our physical humans will become immortal and God-like. This is what he teaches. So you will have a cyborg. He is very popular. His books are bestsellers. He's speaking at the biggest forums in the world. And look what he said. Let me share with you. Having raised humanity above the beastly level of survival struggles, we will now aim to upgrade humans into gods and turn Homo sapiens into Homo Deus. This is sacrilegious. This is blasphemy. We will build a new Tower of Babel. We will make name for ourselves. We will become like God. But we have the book of Revelation, which tells us what will happen in this world. We have Jesus Christ, who is still in the heavenly sanctuary, who controls this universe. And what's going on, like in ancient days with King of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar. He will soon come in the clouds of heaven as a King of kings and Lord of lords and make an end to these globalist dreams, Babylonian dreams. I'd like to share with you, in closing, a statement from John Lennox, great Oxford mathematician and a Christian apologist, who knows quite a bit about artificial intelligence and logic, and mathematical logic. And he spoke with some people who are promoting these ideas of transhumanism, and he said, you have come a little bit too late. How? You're late. There was someone who was God and became a man and died and resurrected. You are too late. You want to make God out of man, but there is God who became a man, who solved all the problems you want to solve, but you cannot solve one problem, and this is the problem of evil. Without transforming and changing human heart, you want to make superhuman, but you cannot do it. You need to change something first here, because you can destroy the human race in this planet Earth. I will quote him. He solves two problems. One, physical death, because the transhumanists, they want to make man immortal. This is one problem. And then the second, what Yuval Harari wants to do, is to make man happy, find happiness. No, he said, I believe that there's powerful evidence that that was solved 20 centuries ago. It was solved before, there was a resurrection in Jerusalem. And as a scientist, I believe it for various reasons that we can discuss. But the point is that if Jesus Christ broke that barrier, that puts everything in different light. Why? Because it affects you and me. How does it affect you and me? Because he has life, eternal. We have borrowed life. When we accept Jesus Christ, we receive eternal life, even here. Secondly, even if you die physically, he can resurrect you and give you eternal life and bring you to heavenly city. He solves the problem. And second thing, as I mentioned, problem of evil. Do you know that humans have tried before to solve, to make a Superman? Germans call it Übermensch. During Hitler regime. And you also had in Soviet Russia, you had Stalin. They were making a new man, communist man. What was the result of these experiments? Rivers of blood. Rivers of blood. But Jesus Christ is the King of peace. He is truly God and truly man, and he brings peace to you and me. We have this hope that no humans without God can give the hope. He who created us in the Garden of Eden and brought us in the Garden of Eden and blessed us, he is coming again. It's my desire that each one of us who are here today would understand the meaning of the Tower of Babel, and that there is a modern Babylon right now in ascendancy. But God, who came down from heaven to see what men were doing and who confused the languages, will intervene again. He will destroy human pride, and he will establish eternal kingdom of peace and justice. May we all be there. Amen.